It is a troubling trend at a university in the South Bay. In just one academic quarter, 3 students have died, 2 of them by suicide.
In fall of 2021, our campus was met with a tragedy which had a hard-hitting impact on students and faculty alike.
Obviously, we all felt it when we first heard of the passing of Tone Lee, who I personally knew. And then we also had the death of Justin Ebner and Charlie.
In late October of 2021, senior Tone Lee passed away from suicide. Only weeks later, it would be announced that another student, Justin Ebner, had also passed away. While one death is hard enough to deal with, the negative emotional effects of 2 deaths was really starting to emerge around campus. Again, only a couple weeks later, on November 28, 2021, Charlie Depew took his own life. While the 2 deaths prior had already shaken up the campus completely, this event would turn out to be the most traumatic. Due to the nature of Charlie's passing, not only would his already grieving friends and family be left disturbed, but also many of his fellow students who might not have even known him. These events, as well as the following response from the university, would show the community that Santa Clara University was not prepared to deal with a situation like this. Their lack of planning was showing from the start, as their poor ability to communicate with not only the students, but also the faculty and staff would be on display after each of these deaths.
I also think the communication strategy was there was no strategy. The communication was sorely lacking. There were professors who had one of the students in there, or some of the students who had passed in their classes, and who didn't know that the students had passed. So I think there were some challenges with how the information was communicated, especially with the timeline.
A lot of people felt like it would have been better for us to get notifications sooner. But I also understand the position of the university, because they need to coordinate with the family, right? And the family has the power, appropriately, I think, to say when and how much can be revealed publicly.
I remember writing emails to my teachers saying, hey, this is why I'm not going to be in class. And every single one of my professors responded with, wow, I didn't even know that happened. And it shocked me that that wasn't communicated to them, because teachers weren't really given the opportunity to show sympathy towards their students, to allow them a day off to grieve, to process their emotions, because they were simply left in the dark.
One of our faculty was in class, and I think that's when the news was sort of spreading, and one by one, students just picked up their things and left the class, or just looked very upset. So then the professor sort of stopped the class and said, is something going on? What can I support anybody? So then someone told this professor, oh, our friend, we found out that our friend passed away.
There would be professors who completely canceled class and completely canceled their finals. There were also professors who still expected their students to show up, who were still assigning homework, who were still giving finals. It's even more frustrating if you hear, oh, my friend's econ final got canceled, but I'm still here writing a paper. And it makes life feel even more unfair when you experience that type of thing. That's not really an emotion that you want to be feeling on top of the grief that you're going through. And like I said, it didn't feel right, because I think everyone should be allowed an equal opportunity to grieve, and that's not what happened last year.
While it wasn't clear to faculty what should be done, what was clear was that the school was not equipped to handle this sort of situation, and that the gaps in infrastructure were shown, especially in our CAPS facility. CAPS, which stands for Counseling and Psychological Services, is a division of Santa Clara University's Student Health Center, also known as the COWL Center. The recent passings would prove that CAPS didn't have the proper funding or support from the university to deal with a large-scale situation such as the one that occurred.
At least when I was first coming onto SCU, CAPS was a big thing that they publicized, because they always wanted to make sure that mental health was something being addressed on campus. And as someone who personally suffers from anxiety, I remember wanting to utilize CAPS, but finding out that there was a really long wait to get an appointment. And it was a bit It was a bit demotivating because it felt like it was kind of just a representational resource and I wasn't ever actually going to be able to use it.
Definitely last year, with like 3 to 4 staff psychologists, we were on the struggle bus. We did not have the basic resources to serve our student population.
The pressure on the university was really building up, as previously an eerily similar event took place just years before.
During my first year here in the spring, so spring quarter 2017, we had 3 student deaths in the same quarter.
This sparked a student-led movement to harbor change at the highest level of the administration.
We were all grieving as a campus, so why would we not unite as a larger voice and go to the school and show them that we were grieving? I said, I want to host a demonstration, and it needs to be soon. The latest I want it to be is in 72 hours. So maximum time, I already created a timeline for myself, 3 days. A lot of representatives from the MCC step up to help me because they really wanted to highlight the impact of mental health on marginalized communities, especially the BIPOC community. I had Sarah Hutton come up and co-host the demonstration with me, which was really useful. I had other amazing people offer to speak during the open mic session because they had some really great perspectives that they wanted to share with SCU. I even had a former CAPS employee come to the demonstration to kind of air her grievances about why she quit and the conditions at CAPS and why SCU really needed to pour more money into this system.
Informal and formal communications have made clear that they were not adequate recently, and that's not unique to Santa Clara University. It's nationwide. We just don't have enough mental health practitioners to meet the need, right? So a lot of time reaching out for psychological services has some stigma attached to it. And I do get the sense that students of late, say in the past 5 or 10 years, report a lot less stigma to talking about mental health challenges and reaching out to get mental health. So the good news is that probably people who weren't getting help before are now getting help, but the bad news is since there's more people, we need more mental health professionals.
Just talking to students have come back and told me, like, I don't think I have found anybody at CAPS who understands like my unique experience with the identities I hold. I think, with it being fully staffed, they have made an effort to try to hire counselors and staff psychologists who do reflect a more diverse range of identities.
So I think Santa Clara is like most liberal arts private universities. And so comparing them to public universities or large universities, I'd say we do a much better job, right? That's part of who we are as an institution, is creating an environment where students can actually interact with faculty and have meaningful relationships, So I would guess that we fare much better in comparison. I don't know how we fare in comparison to other schools like us.
I went to UC Berkeley for undergrad 20 years ago, and there were always suicides when I was there, and it's still ongoing. You can't learn well unless you're not, worried about your finances, or you're not worried about XYZ, and, if you have some kind of emotional challenge going on, how can you focus on your studies? I think where Santa Clara is now, like this quarter, this year, I think we've hit the point where we have the basic services for students. If you need to talk to a therapist, you can call a phone number and someone will be there for you. And, I think now the question is that all? Or should we be going beyond that? But I think the next step would be to sort of move more towards prevention. Actually, like, if you notice something, reach out and ask somebody or say something to that person. And that's what I try to do is, if I notice like a student, I don't know, it's just something's a little different in their behavior halfway through the quarter, or if they don't show up to class, I'll always reach out and I'll say, hey, I noticed you didn't come to class today. Like, no worries but I just are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I support you? And I think it's those little gestures that can mean the world to someone who is in need of that. Like if someone just reached out and said, "Are you okay?" Because they know that someone cares about them.